Looking for your next unforgettable adventure? Say hello to #Travel Marketplace, where the world is just a click away. Whether it's a cozy getaway in the Italian countryside, diving into Cape Town's vibrant culture, or an exotic escape you never knew existed, #Travel Marketplace has it all. From hand-picked accommodations to thrilling experiences, your adventure starts with a hashtag, tmp.com. Dreaming of something beyond the usual tourist traps? Dive into #Travel Marketplace, your source for travel inspirations. At #Travel Marketplace, we're here to inspire you to explore off the beaten path. From secluded beaches to local festivals, your next adventure is just a click away. Visit #tmp.com for travel inspirations that'll take you places you never imagined.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my honor. You're going to acknowledge me.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the official 2023 Royal Rumble review. I have with me today a special guest co-host, patron of the show, longtime patron of the show, and voicemail contributor to our mailbag, as well as an in-person perspective from last night's Royal Rumble. And we've got a lot to talk about. But first, let me introduce you to Rocky T. You guys have heard him before, but if you haven't, I want to introduce him to you now. And Rocky T, how you doing, man? And how was the show?
I am doing well, man. Still coming off the high from last night. The show was amazing. First time to a Rumble. I've been to past WrestleManias and plenty of SmackDowns and Raws, house shows over the years, but this Royal Rumble is at the top of the list.
I can imagine. You don't get, in our wrestling fandom careers, we don't get to go to too many pay-per-views, much less one of the biggest pay-per-views that WWE has every year. So I'm jealous. I'm sure many of us that are watching are jealous, or listening rather, are jealous. And before we get going, where were your seats exactly when you went into the arena? Where'd you sit?
So I was behind the entrance. So where the entrance was, we were above it. On the camera angle would have been to the left. So, unfortunately, as I told you when we messaged, I was not able to get the sign inside the arena. It was too big, was what they told me. But I think the guards were by our gate were just being a little more strict, because we saw signs get in that were about our size that I had, and then even the sign that she created, they said it was too big, and it's a regular poster board sign. So we were right behind the entrance, pretty much, but not on camera. So even if I would have had the sign, it may not have made the camera angles. But I did rewatch some of the Rumble last night when we got back to the hotel, and to see if we could see ourselves on camera. But I don't think it would have made it on camera either way.
It's all right. Yeah, no, I when I was looking around, I didn't see too many signs as a whole anyway. I mean, and it's not like back in the late 90s where everyone brought a sign every single show. And I think, like you encountered, you have much stricter regulations, I guess, for what the security in the building are told by WWE management is allowable and is what's not. And so, yeah, no big deal. I actually had forgot. I was like, oh, well, that's right. And I started looking for the sign, and I'm like, I don't even see many signs at all. So I figured that something had happened, but no big deal. Let's jump into the show. As we open the show, this may have been the only Royal Rumble I can remember that we had the actual men's Royal Rumble match open the show. So that was pretty surprising. And we opened the show with the Royal Rumble. Were you surprised by that, first of all, when they immediately went to the men's Royal Rumble, which typically is slated for the end of the show?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember what you were saying in the last couple of podcasts, that if the Rumble came on first before Roman's match, then we would probably end up seeing Cody win, and if it was vice versa, then maybe a Sami win. So when they announced the start of the Rumble, yeah, I was very surprised. I didn't expect that format. By the end of the night, I felt like it took out a lot of energy from the crowd. I mean, that was a good Rumble. The order everybody came out, the mini storylines that they told was great, but it it was loud and it took a lot of energy out of us. So maybe there wasn't as loud later on. I know it was loud the whole Rumble, but I think it totally surprised me. I guess I'm okay with it. But I didn't like the back-to-back woman matches. So if they would have started with maybe, the women's match and then the men's Royal Rumble and then the women's, but that's what threw me off.
Yeah, usually, yeah, I'm with you. I didn't hate it. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to wait 2.5, 3 hours to get to the match that we all want to see. And no disrespect to the women's, but right now the men's Rumble and specifically the championship match with Roman and KO were the main events of the show without question. And so I'm with you. It took me by surprise, but I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's go. And with a fresh crowd, you're going to get the maximum reaction at the beginning. And you guys were loud. I got to say, there were some times that, especially with the Sammy turn, and we'll get there. That may have been the loudest pop I've heard in quite some time. Again, we'll touch on that in just a few minutes. But as far as this Royal Rumble goes, when you guys saw Gunther and you saw Sheamus 1 and 2, you guys must have been like, all right, cool. We're going to get a couple of minutes of some great wrestling.
Gunther's music hit and the pace. I mean, the roof must have flew off or at least lifted a few inches. Same thing with Sheamus. They both had amazing pops, and their pops lasted from the time they came out all the way to the ring. Like, it wasn't just an initial pop and then just lackluster, but it went through all the way down to the ring. The people were hyped, and then it was just hearing those two theme songs hit and the lights go out for both of their entrances. Yeah, the crowd, I think it was a perfect way to start the Rumble.
And let's not forget about Pat McAfee. I forgot to mention him. You guys gave him a pretty...
Oh my God,
wow. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, to open the show, that was crazy. You would think you're at like a college football game or something. People were just jumping up and down in the crowd and going nuts for this dude.
Yeah, it was a bigger reaction than most superstars don't have that reaction, much less announcers. Right. Yeah. So you guys popped for him pretty damn big, and that was cool to see. And he almost fell off his chair. Did you see that? We had McAfee nearly slip off his chair, and he had to have one of the ring crew hold his chair at ringside when he came in. So
I saw it when I played it back last night in the hotel.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. So yeah, very cool. So back to the Rumble, we had Gunther 1 and 2. I'm not going to go through all 30, but some of the bigger moments that happened in the Rumble. Kofi Kingston had his moment of just always creative non-eliminations that he had, some way to stay in the match, and that was fun to watch. I believe his foot was on a chair, so he technically wasn't eliminated. We had Gargano, Xavier Woods, Karrion Kross, Chad Gable. So before that's the first third of the match. Drew McIntyre was number 9 and Santos Escobar was number 10. So just the first third of the match, if there's anything notable that you remember or wanted to comment on just with that first part.
The first part, like I said, Gunther and Sheamus had those long-lasting pops. So did Drew. The other guys, they had their initial pops when the music hit, but then they were coming down and to the ring, and people were cheering, but just not as loud. I don't know if it transitioned over into TV where y'all watching. Chad Gable had a nice little shoosh at least from my section. My section was cheering a lot and started a couple of chants. There was a little shoosh chant for him, and Kofi and New. I don't know what I know. You don't like New Day. I'm over them too. But those guys got pops. Mm-hmm. And there was even New Day claps before the show started. People were doing the little New Day rocks, the little clap, before the show started. And then a couple of things before, as we're walking into the arena, there's a lot of LA Knight, yeah, chants. And then, of course, the Ric Flair, the woos. This is all before the show. But that first half of the Rumble, Kofi and Xavier's pops, and, they do the little thing in the ring. But other than that, not too much. Santos comes out at number 10. I like the guy. He had a cool little pop. I think people really vibe with his music, and his swagger. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people don't know him yet, even though he's been on, SmackDown for a little while now. They don't know his work if they didn't watch him in NXT. So he got a good pop from me though. Yeah,
no, I'm with you on that. And I was actually surprised to see Karrion Kross get eliminated so quickly. I mean, for all the things he's done the past 6 to 12 months, I'm like, wow, he got eliminated pretty quickly. But that said, after we got Santos Escobar, it was Dawkins, and then Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and Seth Rollins. So that is the first half of the match, and boy, 12 through 15, Lesnar, Lashley, Corbin, and Rollins. That's like a superstar dump, and then of course you slow down and then pick up again with bigger stars.
Right.
So comment on the Lashley, Corbin, Rollins, Lesnar participation in the Rumble.
Right. So again, like with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew, and New Day having their long-lasting pops. Of course, Brock and Bobby get their pops as well. I mean, when Brock's music hit again, the roof, it must have shifted, dude. And then you hear the pyro hit. So those guys are coming down, and when Bobby's music hit, Brock's already in the ring waiting, and people were waiting for the showdown. And again, I'm surprised to see Brock get eliminated that fast too. I thought he would do more. And then Rollins comes out, and then you have Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew, and then Bobby, and you have all these heavy hitters in the match, and you're just like, these guys are going to go the distance. That's what I'm thinking in my head anyways. Like, these guys are going to go the distance and be in the final 5 or final 6, and then surely everybody gets eliminated one by one. So yeah, like you were saying, towards the first half, big name dumps, and then a couple guys get dumped out, but from there on out, well, who's next? We got Otis, and we got what happened with Ray.
Yep.
What did you think about that with Ray? Because people in the crowd were mad. They were chanting for Ray. Where's Ray? Like the whole rest of the match, where's Ray? Even during the Women's Royal Rumble, they're like, where's Ray? People were just asking for him. But was there anything on commentary that led to anything about what happened to him?
They were speculating. I mean, obviously they were suspicious of Dominic, who had something to do with it, and I'm sure he obviously does. So they were speculating and a bit suspicious, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the crowd was, they were into it the whole time. When Dominic came out, of course you get your boos. There's something about Dom now that he's, kind of grown up a little bit. When I saw Dom in person, from the view I had, there's something about this kid now that he's on the track to be a big star. He's got it in his blood. He's got to polish his mic skills and ring work, but he's doing great work right now. But when I laid eyes on him in person, it changed. Like, I respect this kid at a whole different level. I can't really explain it. I have a soft spot for second generation stars. I've mentioned back on old emails and podcasts. So now that he's getting into his groove, I might actually buy this kid's shirt. I'm not sure, but seeing him in person was a little game changer for me.
That's interesting to hear. Dominic, he's getting one of the biggest heel reactions that the company has right now for anybody, and deservedly so. He has found his niche as this punk ex-con Dom gimmick. I love everything about it. It fits him and suits him absolutely perfectly. And of course, we're getting to a Ray Dominic match at WrestleMania, and that'll be fun. That whole story is going to be really fun. The video package on that should be absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking forward to that. But continuing with the Rumble, we got Elias, who was pretty much a non-factor, Finn Balor in that match, and then Booker T. I mean, you guys popped pretty big. I would have as well. Booker T entering the Royal Rumble. How did that sound in person?
That was incredible. Hometown boy for me. Little story about Booker. Before he had a reality of wrestling down here in Houston, he had PWA, which was his Pro Wrestling Alliance, and he had that down in Pasadena. When I was going to college, the lady I knew was dating his promoter. So I actually got to pass out the flyers for Booker T when he had his promotion down there when I was in college back in 2006 and 2007. So besides being a hometown boy, Booker T, I have a soft spot for him, but the crowd went nuts for him. He must have had, if not the biggest pop, next to Edge or Brock or Bobby's pop, Booker T pop might have been the loudest one, and sustainable too, all the way down to the ring. And then when he hit the spinneroonie, I mean, the people were just jumping, like they were just calling for it. Like, yeah, I'll never forget it. I hadn't seen the spinneroonie in person before, and experienced the crowd reaction for it. I was going ballistic for it. I couldn't wait.
It was a fun moment, and you know what? For his age, for not being in the ring, he was in really good shape. And you know what? He wasn't exactly what he was, 20 years ago, but of course he's not going to be. However, I really enjoyed seeing him. Seeing Booker T was such a nice, fun throwback. Of course, he's not going to win, but it's always fun to see those guys come back for kind of a cameo appearance. And I'm with you. I was sitting at home like, oh, this is great. Like, when you don't load up the Rumble with a lot of legacy stars and it's kind of here and there, it means more. So I was big on this. I really enjoyed Booker T in the Rumble, even if it was for a short period of time. Then we get Damian Priest, Montez Ford, Edge, and Austin Theory at number 25. So for that batch with Booker, Damian, Montez, and Edge and Austin Theory, kind of go through that if you have any comments on just that batch of individuals.
Well, you already had Dominic and Finn in the match, and then when Priest comes out, you kind of had an idea that they were gonna throw people out and take over, and then the idea of Edge started to sink in, and in my head, Kimberly had mentioned it that he was gonna come back, and I wasn't sure, because we're speculating a lot. We thought he might have came back to Raw 30 or something. So I like that he didn't come back for Raw 30, and then so when you see Judgment Day in the ring, and then you got Ford come out, which is kind of almost of a throwaway, even though he's on the rise. And then they're standing tall in the ring, Judgment Day is, and then Edge's music hits. I don't know how that's like the perfect setup. I mean, for him to come back and get his revenge, so to speak, instead of coming back and making a return on Raw and just beating them, I think it was perfect to do the storyline with that in the Rumble. Austin Theory comes out, he gets his booze, walks to the ring, he does his thing, but there was actually a couple people cheering for the kid. I'm pretty high on the kid right now too. He's got a good look. Of course, his in-ring is very good and his mic skills. So, and then he made it to the Final Four, so good showing for him, even though he came out at number 25. But the Edge pop was just, going back to that real quick, it was amazing too. People were waiting. Like, I don't know if people are ever going to get tired of Edge. As many times he's come back, and every time it's a loud pop, I don't think people ever get tired of him.
No, I think he's also doing a really smart thing of not sticking around too long for when he comes back. I mean, he's kind of sticking around for a month, maybe two, and then going away for 3 months, and then doing, it's extending his career at his age, and it's also keeping him somewhat fresh when he comes back. So yeah, plus his music. his music never gets old ever. It's one of the best entrance music, I think, of all time in terms of, for baby faces anyway. I absolutely love it. Yeah, it gets the crowd going every time. It's energetic, it's catchy, it's just perfect. And Edge,
I actually listen to it when I'm at the gym sometimes.
No, I'm with you. It gets you pumped up if you're exercising. Yeah, it's great workout music, but it also is a perfect wrestler's entrance music. And so you put all that together, and Edge comes back, gets a measure of revenge, although I don't think it's over. As we get closer to Elimination Chamber. So, all right, then the final 5 here. We get Omos, Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Logan Paul, Cody Rhodes at number 30. And there's a bunch of places you could go with this, but I guess my first question is that spot with Logan Paul and Ricochet. That's going to be one of those highlight reel things that people remember from the Rumble and probably for a few years with their spot. And I don't like Logan Paul, like on a lot of levels. I know he's good in the ring, but I'm not a fan of him. However, he's very good in the ring. So comment on just that spot, and then anything else you want to talk about.
Okay, well, just to start off, I'll comment that in a second, but to get back, when Omos comes out at 26, and then you have Strowman at 27, of course, people were expecting that little show off, but you start getting all these big men in the ring, towards the end, and Ricochet comes out. I'm not a fan of his music at all. He didn't really get a big of a pop as I thought he would. And then Logan's Paul music hits, and the crowd just they just lost it, and in a bad way. People love to hate this kid. He's super great in the ring. I give him that. He's got that he doesn't have that go away heat. He has that I want to see him get punched in the face heat. And my crowd, in my section, I think they started the "F you" Logan chant. Did that translate?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It did? Okay, I thought they were gonna edit that out. I didn't. I mean, it was loud in my section, and we heard it in the arena, but I didn't know if it would go onto the TV. But yeah, I was. I mean, it was kind of funny, but at the same time, like the people were yelling, "Oh, waste of an entry," and they just kept on "F you," and then the spot with Ricochet. Whenever they were both on an apron, I mean, wasn't much else they could do. I guess the double clothesline was, or the crossbody, what they did. Yeah, it'll definitely be in the highlights of next year's Rumble opening package to the show, and from years on going on. Um, that was a big moment. People were wild for that.
And I think Logan Paul got a lot of heat. Number one, he's not a likable guy. Like, I mean, just in general, he's not likable at all. He's got an arrogance about him that he just can't help, and that's great if you want to be a heel. So I think WWE's embraced that. They're not going to try to swim upstream and just continue to put him as a heel. I think that's a smart thing to do. I hope they do. And so as we move on here, Logan Paul finally gets eliminated. And one thing I didn't talk about too, Brock Lesnar got eliminated very quickly, and much quicker than anyone expected. He starts tearing up ringside. I know this was earlier in the match, but I never got your opinion on, or your reaction to, what was it like in person? Were people actually angry that Brock got eliminated so early, even though they didn't want Brock to win and knew Brock wasn't going to win? Were they kind of disappointed? That's the sense I got from listening to the crowd, that you guys were just kind of angry that he was eliminated so quickly.
Yeah, because he got in, and of course the Suplex City, and again, I'm thinking him and Bobby, they're gonna last, to the final four or something, or at least down to the last five, and he got eliminated. I was disappointed. Some of the people around me were cheering, and some of them you could feel the disappointment, like, oh, like he's out. So like, when Brock comes out, it's always a big moment. People are always getting drops, F5s and German suplexes, and it's like it came and it went so fast, and I think that's why people were disappointed. I think they just wanted more from him.
Mm-hmm.
But to the story of him and Bobby, I guess it makes sense. But again, yeah, people seemed like they were disappointed.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what I felt. So one more thing about Logan Paul, and then we'll get to, of course, Cody Rhodes ending with Gunther, is that I think also he got heat, not just because he's an arrogant kid, but also because people realized that Cody's a part of the Rumble. They knew that there were only 2 spots left, and one of them for sure is Cody Rhodes. And people were wondering, wait a minute, could 29 be The Rock? Could 29 be Stone Cold? Could 29 be Randy Orton or Riddle or somebody else? So I think also it was a kind of a disappointment, angry pop on top of the fact that Logan Paul is just an annoying, kid and an SOB. So did you feel that way? Do you feel like the fans felt that way in person? There was kind of also disappointment that it was Logan Paul instead of another big name that was floating around for weeks?
Absolutely, yes. Like I said, as soon as he came out, loud boos, and then the people in my section started that "F you Logan" chant. Yeah, and the guy behind me was a waste of an entry. He kept on saying it over and over. Yeah, people were expecting a superstar, a full-time superstar, or a big name like Rock or Austin. I know people have been speculating, but if it would have been Riddle or Randy or Big E, somebody that we wanted to see, then yeah, it would have been great. But for Logan to take up somebody's spot, knowing that he's not going to win, just to get more heat on him, people were really upset.
Yeah.
I can't really stress that enough. I don't know who. I guess since maybe he eliminated Rollins, could we be expecting something between them going forward, do you think?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, their styles certainly match up, and we also have proof that Logan Paul can put on a really good match. That has been established very well, and he is getting a very big push very quickly, which is going to create resentment for him, and that's great if they want to push him as a heel, and I think they could with him and Seth Rollins. So I'm all for Logan Paul-Seth Rollins match. However, I'm more of a Seth Rollins in main event of WrestleMania instead of in a grudge match at Mania, but I digress. So, but yeah, I think that is probably where they're going because they know that the match is almost guaranteed to be really good.
Okay. To circle back real quick about Ray and Dom. I know you were, and I were expecting a show off between them, a face to face, and we didn't get that. How disappointed were you about that?
I understand where they're going. I know that eventually it'll be revealed. We'll get footage of Rey Mysterio being, hung up in a basement somewhere, strapped to a pole, or just, beat up, or there'll be something, some kind of nefarious reason why. We all know that. But I would have liked them to have had it play out on the Rumble, where Rey Mysterio is on fire, Dominic has been eliminated, and Dominic, even though he's eliminated, comes back, low blows his dad, and throws him over the top rope. Like, I would have liked to have seen it play out in front of fans. Like, I know we'll get to something on SmackDown, but yeah, like, they could have easily continued to push this at the Rumble, where Dominic does something underhanded again. Yes, I was disappointed.
Yeah, very much so. Whenever Dom was coming out with the mask, so the story is that he took off Ray's mask and Ray can't come to the ring, he got beat up. And in my mind, logically, I'm thinking, doesn't Ray have a 10,000 mask? And every wrestler travels with at least 3 or 4 different color schemes, for the ring gear. So we're like, why can't he just put on another mask? But yeah, it was disappointing not to see that. I was looking forward to that. I'm not I've always liked Ray over the years. He's not at the top of my list or anything, but, respect. And then again, soft spot for the second generation stars, like Dom. So I think that really would have added a nice spice to their storyline leading into WrestleMania if Dom would have eliminated Ray, or vice versa. If Ray would have eliminated Dom, that would have been a great pop. But we didn't get any of that. So a little disappointment there, but, let's we can move on from that now to Mr. Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Explain the pop. People knew number 30 was Cody, right? So but go ahead.
Once we knew, once 29 hit, it was Paul, and then we knew, okay, Cody's the only one left. People were ready for it. So one thing we didn't talk about is the demographic, of the crowd. Yeah. So a lot of families, and I'm talking about like mom and dad with kids, all in bloodline shirts. You had grown men our age, like in groups of 3 and 4 and 5, all with matching Uso gear, like red hats, red shirt, red shoes. You had a lot of men in their 30s and 40s that were in my area, that looked like lifetime fans. But at the same time, there was a lot of kids. The kids were going crazy, like young kids, 4 to 5, maybe 10 years old. They're cheering for Cody, like, just before he even came out, like crazy. And once we knew it was Cody coming out at 30, everybody was just Cody, doing the little chants. When his music hit, the loud pop happens. When he walks down to the ring, the noise went down. And then that one part of the song where it goes, oh, everybody just likes to sing along with that part. So he gets that loud pop, he gets to the ring, and then he does his little pose, another pop. So Cody's pop wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't long-lasting to the ring like some of the other guys. And I was very disappointed because like I had mentioned in a couple mailbags ago, that if Cody was going to win it, I thought he should have been at the number 1 spot. But coming at 30, I don't feel like it's earned at all, and I'm very disappointed with that. I'm happy that he won, but I do not like the way that he won. I don't feel like it was earned at all. I don't know if they were maybe just testing out his pet and see how he could go. I don't think they wanted to put him at number 1 or even at number 15. I don't think they want him in the match that long, maybe to risk injury again. But the win, the pop from the win was pretty big. But it could have been better if it felt like it was earned.
You hit the nail on the head. Now, again, I know I'm in the minority. I'm not a Cody Rhodes babyface fan, and that doesn't help my analysis here. However, regardless of who wins the Rumble, number 30 is a privileged spot to be in. And if you're going to bring a guy back that you're bringing back from injury, you're creating this whole story that we're all supposed to get behind him and feel for him and all this, and you put him in at number 30, he is in a spot that has a very high likelihood of success. And it just also doesn't help him that it was down to the number 1 guy of Gunther and him. He almost lost to a guy that was in the match for over an hour. I mean, that's not a good testament to your babyface that you're supposed to push. They did a great job, and Gunther is a future world champion, bar none. I am a massive Gunther fan. I love everything that he is and stands for. I love everything Imperium stands for. But if you're going to bring Cody Rhodes in and make him number 30 and then nearly lose to the guy that's been in the match for an hour, it's not a good look. Now, I think fans in the moment don't think that. They just look at Gunther versus Cody, and then maybe later on the reality of, wait a minute, he kind of slid into this position. Why are we cheering for him again? And plus, it's Sami Zayn's year. This is not Cody Rhodes' year. So there's a dynamic there as well. But yeah, I thought the end of the match was very well done. Of course, from a wrestling perspective, they had me believing for a moment or two Gunther could win it. I mean, they did a nice job at the end of the match. There was no complaining from a wrestling in-ring perspective, but when you look at it from logical perspective, I mean, yeah, right. Cody was in a very advantageous position that we're supposed to be, admiring.
Right. So back to circle to Gunther real quick. I've renamed him Iron Gunther because he did go the distance. And that was really incredible to see, for him to make the final two, start at number one. And then to be a champion on top of that, like, going forward, I mean, you think he's going to keep the belt forever. He's going to have to drop it eventually, but, yeah, you're right. He's a future champion. Cody, who knows if he's really going to be a future champion, or at least at WrestleMania. Of course, he will be eventually, but who knows if he's going to be at WrestleMania. What did disappoint me, what I did not like, or what did not happen, was usually when the final four, after the fifth guy is thrown out and there's four left, the guys usually revert back to a corner.
Yes.
And then they have a final four face off. Mm-hmm. We didn't get that.
I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. And it happened in the women's match too. And I don't know if I'm nitpicking or not, but if you noticed it, then maybe I'm not nitpicking.
No,
but
it's because you and I have seen so many Rumbles, and it's predictable, but you want that as kind of like a reset of like, okay, here are the final. You know what I mean? Like it is. It's like turning the page of a book, and you're like, all right, here's the stage, here's the scenario. You get a chance to just for a few moments even just sit back and try to figure out what's going on. I agree.
Yeah, and you get everybody to start cheering, the final four. It's the final four of a Rumble. Like, people are hyped up and ready for a winner. And yeah, it just, that kind of, left a little sour taste in my mouth, but I got over it.
No, very good. And I know it didn't ruin the Rumble. Overall, I thought the Rumble match itself, from a wrestling perspective, was good. There was some surprise exits. Of course, Brock Lesnar being eliminated fairly early, Karrion Kross being eliminated fairly early, Rey not being a part of the Rumble. We did not have any John Cena. I was surprised about that. We didn't have Rock. We didn't have Austin. We didn't have Big E. We didn't have Orton. We didn't have Riddle. All these names that were floating around. Even Vince McMahon himself, like I've heard crazy things, and we got none of that. And so at the end of this, after people were generally cheering for Cody Rhodes. So when he won, was the pop really? I mean, it sounded loud, but in person, did you hear any boos, or was it pretty unanimous that people were cheering for him?
It was a unanimous cheering. There weren't any boos, but like I said, it wasn't as loud or sustainable as a Cody Rhodes win should have been. Mm-hmm. Or for a Royal Rumble win. Of course, you got the pyro. He gets on the ropes and does the point. That's always a loud pop. But the initial once he got Gunther over, it was a good pop. But no boos, but just not a loud enough pop to satisfy me.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and being that it's the first match of the show, that you guys give maximum effort, you have maximum amount of energy, and it still wasn't a place it should be. I think it's a little concerning, but ultimately I think I'm in the minority here, and I'm cool with that. Usually I'm not, in this one I am, and I'm willing to embrace it. So. All right. Well, any thoughts, or rather, any final thoughts on just the Rumble match itself before we get to Bray Wyatt and LA Knight?
The only thing else I have to say is that I'm glad that Booker T was the only legacy star that showed up, and there wasn't, any other wasted spots besides Logan Paul. Of course you had, Edge and Brock are your part-timers, but they're still big names and very relevant. But very glad to see that there wasn't a lot of wasted spots on old legends and legacy stars. But Booker T being a Texas boy was, I think, the perfect fit if you're going to use anybody to fill up a spot.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm cool with one or two of them. They didn't and they didn't even do that a whole lot with the women's, which I really appreciate. We'll get to that a little bit later. So, all right. Now the women, or rather the Pitch Black match, Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. It was basically a rave party with black light.
Right.
I have no idea what all that. I guess it was just shredded up paper that was somehow implanted into the announce table that was
Right.
made for the spot to look more dramatic. It was, I mean, I know why they did it because it looks cool, but it also is preposterous that there's a bunch of paper shoved into the desk. It was ridiculous. Nonetheless, I get why they did it. I think that Bray Wyatt's makeup and his mask were really cool. It was kind of an evolution of the Fiend, but also a version of himself that we haven't seen yet. LA Knight, I love all of his work. I think that he is a massive star in the making. My quick analysis, and I'll toss it to you, is that I thought the match was okay. I thought that it was physical as it should have been. I was very disappointed in the ending, that it was basically a complete squash at the end of LA Knight, where there wasn't even a hint that he could win. And then he got destroyed by Uncle Howdy. We still don't know the identity of Uncle Howdy, which is kind of puzzling to me. But Uncle Howdy showed up and did his spot off of the scaffolding or whatever it was that set off the pyro. And LA Knight not only lost, but was completely destroyed at the end of this. To me, being an LA Knight fan, I think he needed the win more than Bray Wyatt did. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. What did you think, being there in person, about this match?
So right after the men's Royal Rumble finish, everybody's rushing, to a restroom break. And then I'm not expecting the LA Knight to go on second. I'm expecting the women's match to go second. So I go as well. The lines are out the restroom, they're so long. But then you hear LA Knight's music hit, and everybody's running back from the restroom lines back to their seats. It was nuts. So there was a scramble to get back to our seats. I actually didn't make it back to my seat until Bray Wyatt's music hit. So I missed LA Knight's entrance, which is kind of disappointing because I am a big fan of him as well. I followed him in NXT. I knew he was going to be a big star whenever he was finally, brought up to the main roster. I was very mad when he was Max Dupree, and then when he reverted back to LA Knight, I was like, this guy's going to be something. He's going to be a champion. The match started. They dropped the lights. The neon show, the rave party look. I guess it was cool. I did watch it back at the hotel. I think it might have looked better on camera than it does in person. Maybe it's because from my view. And the match it was physical, but LA Knight, I don't think he had enough offense to look strong in the loss. So that was disappointing to me. The botched part on the outside where they set up the stairs, it looked like Bray was trying to suplex him, but then I don't know if LA Knight reversed it or he just fell off the barricade, but then when he tackled him onto the table and all that confetti exploded. Yeah, I thought it was kind of silly too. But, to go along with the match, I guess it fits. The squash part of it, again, I was expecting LA Knight to have more offense. And when he got that kendo stick out, is it just me, or was it when he was hitting Bray? Does it look like it was made of rubber?
It looked, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
It was like a pool floaty, kind of.
Yes, like a noodle, like one of those pool noodles. Yeah.
So that kind of lost it for me there when I saw that part. And then the ending with Howdy. So I think that should have been the end of the match, not the aftermath of the match. They should have fought over there to that part where they were going to do the spot, and then Uncle Howdy should have done his thing, and then Bray should have been like a KO victory instead of it being the aftermath of the match. That was too far from us to see. Of course, on the opposite side of the arena, so we were watching it on the big screens up there. I don't know if I'm really happy with that, because we were expecting a reveal, or we were expecting something more to the story. We saw the Firehouse puppets up there, which is a cool visual, but I don't like. It was a squash match. I don't feel like LA Knight doesn't look stronger in the loss. It was a squash match. It's like all that hype and stuff to the match, and then I don't think it delivered, honestly.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was a slight disappointment. It wasn't embarrassing. It wasn't a sloppy match. It just was, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because every Bray Wyatt match always seems to have a gimmick to it. It can't ever just be a normal match, which I don't think is a good thing. Like, I know that Bray Wyatt hasn't wrestled in a couple of years in WWE and all that, and he used to have the red lighting when he was the Fiend, which I don't think was it was cool for the first like one or two times, and then it became annoying. And then also the fact that he never sold as the Fiend, it was just like, nothing could destroy him ever. There was a little bit of that with the kendo stick. It reminded me of the Seth Rollins disaster at Hell in a Cell a number of years ago, where just and it brought flashbacks to me, scary flashbacks. So yeah, I'm with you about the pool noodle look. I looked at I was trying to watch the kendo stick. I'm like, kendo sticks don't bend like that. It looked like rubber. But in the interest of safety, I know why they did it. If you're going to take a kendo shot to the head, I totally understand why they did it, and they knew they could cover it under the darkness of the match, so it didn't look ridiculous. But yeah, it bent way too much. But I still think the match, I think it hurt LA Knight a little bit. I was disappointed that LA Knight was just so dominantly defeated at the end, instead of putting up more of a fight, and Uncle Howdy screwed him over. I could have seen that. I could have seen like, okay, fine, like you said, LA Knight is winning, he's about to win the match, and Uncle Howdy comes out to make the save. And that's not the way they did it, I think, because they want to give Bray Wyatt a win, given it's his first match back, and you also don't want to give the heel an argument to say, I had you beat, right? It's typically flipped. The babyface usually is about to, deliver the heel a victory or a defeat, and then somebody interferes and causes the babyface to lose. But since the babyface is Bray, it gets a little wonky. Either way, to me, the follow-up is very interesting to me. I think LA Knight can get back on his feet and get some momentum back with him because he's so good on the microphone. He can generate that heat pretty quickly. So it's not a great, for me, an outcome for being an LA Knight fan. But that said, I don't think it's a career killer, for LA Knight.
No, I don't think so either. And I don't know if I really see LA Knight as a heel. I mean, I know he talks like a heel and talks a little trash to the crowd sometimes, but his catchphrase is getting over. Like, I'm telling you, as we're walking into the Alamo Dome, you just hear everybody, yeah, let me talk to you, like, and then everybody's, repeating it just over, just like the Ric Flair Rue chants. There was like, neck and neck on how much you were hearing. And that's all you were hearing. You weren't, hearing the what chants of Stone Cold or anything else like that in the crowd beforehand, but you were hearing those LA Knight chants.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think LA Knight, he could flip to a babyface very quickly. He's a guy that is a sleeper pick, I think, to become world champion maybe by, in a year's time, whenever the hell Roman decides to give it up, or WWE decides to finally drop it from Roman. I think that LA Knight is in the conversation, at least, in the next year or year and a half. And we'll be seeing him at least carry Intercontinental Championship gold or United States Championship gold, at least in 2023. LA Knight is destined for some kind of gold in 2023. I don't think there's any question. But okay, let's get into the next match here. Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss. I'll toss this one to you first, Rocky.
So this was my actual restroom break. I knew after this we're getting the Women's Royal Rumble, and then of course the main event. So this was my actual restroom break. We went out, to use the restroom, and before I got back to my seat, the match was over. So I actually didn't get to watch it, but I did watch it before, while I was waiting for you to get everything set up. Underwhelming. Mm-hmm. Alexa was aggressive, but it was just a match. Really wasn't much else to it. Bianca comes out, does her thing, and defends. I expected Alexa to maybe at least kick out of the KOD at least once. And there wasn't a lot of close spots where you thought Alexa was going to win, which also disappointed me a lot. I would have preferred her to win. I'm a big Alexa fan. I always have been ever since, her goddess gimmick. And even through all the Playhouse Funhouse stuff, I still liked her even though she wasn't in ring. So disappointing that she didn't have a better showing. And then, where does she go from here is what I'm really worried about, because I thought she was kind of making her way back up the ladder, maybe going to be a champion soon, but she didn't have a good enough of a showing to really, make you think that she's going to be a champion soon. Yeah. What did you think?
Mm-hmm. No, this was I don't want to say it wasn't a bad match. It just felt like a typical Monday Night Raw matchup, and
right, they were just going through the motions.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just kind of a normal match. And again, that's not an insult or a compliment. It's just kind of there. And I'm with you that Alexa Bliss, I think, is deserving of gold. The problem is, timing for her. If this was after WrestleMania, then I think we're talking about a potential win for Alexa. But given that they want to get Bianca to WrestleMania as champion to face Rhea Ripley, I mean, this was to me a slam dunk, take it to the bank decision that Bianca Belair was going to retain because of the timing of this match. And I don't think Alexa Bliss is going to get another championship match probably until after WrestleMania sometime against Rhea Ripley. I think, I do believe Rhea Ripley, I know going far ahead here, but I think Rhea Ripley will capture the women's championship in April at WrestleMania 39, and then she'll have opponents lined up, and hopefully Alexa Bliss is one of them. So for Alexa Bliss fans out there, for her carrying gold, it's probably going to be a while. That said, this match was okay, as I said, and the near falls, the only near fall I can think of was when she hit her DDT. She did, and got the near fall, and that was like, oh, never mind, right? Like it was like, oh, no, okay, like that's it. And really, what this match was about was, okay, after the match, the Bray Wyatt symbol flashed, and then she got mesmerized by watching, the playground. So apparently, she's going back to sitting on a swing for months. I don't know what she's doing, but that's really what this progress of this story is her. But how far is she going to descend back into darkness? Is it going to be the same character? Is it going to be another version of her? What is this going to be? That is really the takeaway, not who won the match, but rather where does Alexa Bliss's character go after this?
Right. So with that being said, I would have much preferred a DQ finish with Alexa going off the hinges, maybe not releasing a hold while Bianca's holding the ropes, or maybe grabbing a weapon, and after seeing the symbol, or during the match, if they would have played the symbol, then maybe a DQ finish would have been to make her look so that she doesn't have a loss by being pinned. And then, like I said, she didn't even kick out of the KOD once. You don't see Alexa finish her off the top ropes. I would have liked more close, or make it seem like Alexa was going to win at least. And if she's going to revert back to Dark Alexa, I'm okay with her ring gear, the makeup, and the little black skirt or whatever, the overall skirt she wears. But, yeah, don't want to see her on the playground swinging. Just a waste of her talent. Let her be back in the ring. I don't know. Move her to SmackDown. Let her go after Charlotte or something. Don't take her out of the title picture, though. I know she's a 5-time champ, and it's been, almost 5 years since she's had the belt?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Going on 5 years? Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know. I'm over Bianca. I'm not a huge Bianca fan. I'm very happy that she made history with Sasha a few years ago at WrestleMania. I'm happy that WWE has somebody of color to represent for the last few years and to make history. But yeah, she has that heel gimmick that she disguises as a babyface gimmick. And people cheer it. I can't wait till Bianca turns heel. When she turns heel, I'll probably buy her shirt. But until then, no. I mean, I'm a heel through and through, Matt. Like, truly am. I'm a heel. I'm not a Logan Paul fan, but purposely, I was clapping for him during the Rumble.
Wow.
Yeah. Same thing with Dom. People hate Dom. I like him, so I was clapping Dom's performance. And people around me were looking at me like, what's wrong with you? So. And I walk away. But yeah. So, anyways, back to the Bianca match. Let's just see what hopefully Alexa doesn't. She's still better than Bayley. Doesn't get lost in obscurity here, and becomes a jobber. Hope not. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hope not too. I think. Again, while she won't be involved in the title picture for some time, it's about the evolution of the character. Does she rejoin Bray in some kind of Wyatt 5 group? We don't know. But that's clearly going to be the path for Alexa over the next several months. So, speaking of heels, we get to the Women's Royal Rumble match, and number one is Rhea Ripley after she was speared earlier in the night by returning Beth Phoenix. So, Rhea Ripley entering number one and Liv number two. First two in the ring. What were your thoughts?
Well, the consensus around my crowd, my section, was that Beth was going to be number two. So when Rhea came out, people were cheering Beth. But then Liv came out. Mommy gets a pop. She does. We love her in our household. I've always loved Rhea, especially. I followed her since NXT too. I love Rhea. I love what she's doing, the work in Judgment Day. When she came out as number one, she's was my heavy favorite, as long as with yours as well. in my mind, I'm like, Rhea's gonna go the distance. She's making history tonight. Like I'm telling Kimberly, we're watching history tonight. Rhea's gonna win. Liv comes out, and then you're like, okay, that's cool. That's a good spot for Liv. She's gonna show up and show out. And then we get rolling. We get number 3, 4. You get Dana. No pop for Dana. No pop for Emma. Shayna gets a little pop. Bailey always gets a pop for me. I love Bailey, but people were booing Bailey. People were like, I hate you, Bailey. People don't like Bailey. And I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. Like, she's a 4-horsewoman. She's a legend already. She's annoying as hell, but I love it. What do you think about the first 6 that came out?
Yeah, I thought that we always have the ebbs and flows of, kind of the lower card and the big card to balance it out, but you got to have that. You can't have just big star, big star, big star, big star. So I don't mind the fact that you had a couple of down, entrants with 3 and 4 with Dana and Emma that probably got little to no reaction, as you said. And then Shayna Baszler picks it back up, and you're like, all right, here we go. And then Bayley really picks it back up. I thought the beginning of the match was good, and Rhea Ripley selling that spear was good. She didn't forget about it. So many times there's a lack of selling that can really, really push a storyline forward, and it really, I think, adds an element of realism to the sport that people forget about selling. And she sold it well. She was coming out kind of clenching her midsection, and so yeah, I'm a Rhea Ripley fan, but I wouldn't cheer her. I would still boo her, but in a way that is what they're designed to be. I wouldn't boo her that I don't want her on my screen. I think this is Rhea Ripley's year. She's in a position I don't think anybody would have expected her to be in. She was my favorite, your favorite, many other favorites to win. And, having her in the match here for the first 6 anyway was what you'd expect. No massive eliminations, just kind of, hold the fort and wait for the ring to kind of fill up. So as we move, we get B-Fab, Roxanne Perez, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky to round out the first 10. Again, not the biggest stars in the world, but looking at the first 10, what are your thoughts?
Right. So after Bailey, you get B-Fab, who doesn't get much of anything with her. I guess they need to do something, or they need to fill a spot, because I know B-Fab was not really she's on the main roster, but she's not really full-time wrestling. But whatever with her. Then Roxanne comes out. My new number 1, Roxanne. Roxanne got a very nice pop. I guess more people know her now. I don't know if it's because she's a Texas girl or because she's an NXT champ. But she got a very nice pop. She came in the ring and was a little firecracker. As you know, and some other people know, I was able to meet her back in the Christmas holidays break. She was in my part of town with, I believe it's her boyfriend. His name is Gino. He wrestles with Booker T's promotion down here in Houston. They were together in town, just trying to get away from her recent, stardom or her fame that she got from winning the title. They can't even go to anywhere local in Laredo, where she's from. So they were, at my side of town in Houston, visiting his family. So it was very cool to meet her, and then to see her in the Rumble. I mean, I almost fell like in the row in front of me when I jumped out of my seat. And then we get Dakota and Io, and then again, just like when Finn and Priest were out, you knew that that these girls were gonna take over the match with Bayley. They were gonna come in and back up Bayley, and of course they started eliminating people. So whenever we have those 3 girls in there, you're thinking, well, who's going to come out to oppose them? So then you have 11, 12, 13, and 14, which is Natalya, Candice LeRae, Zoe Stark, and Xia Li. Kimberly being, part-time watcher, she's not a new fan, but she's, getting back into it. She's like, who are these people? She knows Natalya because of her, when she got her nose busted by Shayna Baszler, and because she knows her as the Botox lady. But then you have Candice LeRae and Zoe and Lee and Xia Li, she's like, who are these girls? So I'm explaining, and then Big Time Bex comes out, and the roof just goes off. So you're like, all right, it's getting good. What did you think about, well, at least between the time that Io came out and to the time that Becky came out? What was y'all's initial reaction to those few spots?
So I thought that it was, it held my interest, right? Because, like you said, the dynamic was Bayley and Bailey and her cronies, Io Sky and Dakota Kai, pretty much dominating the match, and that was the narrative, and I was all for it, and also giving the quote newer stars some shine, like Zoe Stark, who most mainstream fans who don't follow NXT probably looked at her and said, who? Most of them probably did. I mean, let's be real. So, and also Roxanne Perez, champion. But again, you can't assume that everyone that watches the main shows watches NXT. Most don't, looking at the numbers. So it's nice to see those women get exposure on the main roster on a big stage. And that's, to me, the most important part of this particular part of the Rumble. I will say, what was interesting to me about B-Fab, and it's not her performance, which was okay. It was the comments made by Michael Cole. He's being clearly directed by whoever in the headset. It was almost like Vince was in the headset or something, because he was running down Top Dollar so much, like about how, he was an embarrassment and all that. He will not let it go about that over the top rope flub that he had like a month ago on SmackDown. And I'm like, why are we making such a big deal about this? Are they trying to humiliate? Like, what are we getting out of this with the announcers continuing to remind the fans of this flub? Like, I don't really care anymore. It was a scary moment, and then we talked about it for like a day and we moved on. So the announcers continue, especially Michael Cole, continues to try to put down Top Dollar. And again, I know in person you obviously didn't hear this, but if you watch it back, you're going to hear that. And I don't understand what the payoff is other than to humiliate and eventually let these three go. I don't get it.
I really don't have anything to say about them. I like them I like Hit Row when they were NXT, but when they came up, they didn't do the right direction with them, the right storytelling. It lost everything for me. And also they're missing the leader, which is, Swerve Strickland. I know he's with AEW, but that man is talented and he's good on the mic, and he was the glue to that group. So without him, Hit Row is nothing to me, really. And, they haven't really proven anything. They're not good on the mic. I don't know what WWE is doing with them or how long they're even going to be around. I guess they're just a jobber group now.
Yeah. They are in a very, very not desirable position. I know they turned heel, but people seem to still not care. I would be if I was any group of any part of the Top Dollar, the whole group there, I would be very concerned. If I was anywhere near Hit Row, if I was a part of Hit Row, I'd be very concerned about my job. I just would, based on the fact that announcers are even running you down now and continuing to remind fans of the botch. Like, I don't know. It's just not a good spot. But okay, let's move on. Becky Lynch, again, she comes out as you mentioned, and massive pop as expected. Then Tegan Knox, and then a returning Asuka. New look. I liked it. Piper Niven. I mean, thank God they changed her name from Dewdrop. Hallelujah. Yes. Tamina and Chelsea Green. So looking from 15 to 20, this was there's a lot of big names in here. Some nice changes for names for Piper Niven specifically. New look for Asuka. Your thoughts?
So Tegan Knox, I know her a little bit, again, from NXT. She had a very great match with Dakota Kai. It was a street fight. That's how I learned about those two names. So if anybody doesn't know much about their history, check out their street fight from NXT. I believe it was at a takeover event a few years ago. Asuka's new look. Asuka got a great pop. Everybody was happy to see her. And then her face paint was amazing. Is that a new gimmick, or is that a past gimmick, or do you know anything about it?
It's not anything I recognize, no.
Okay. So that was great. And then, it was great to see Piper back. I'm glad she's back from injury. I'm glad they changed her name. I was really starting to be high on her before she got injured. When she was kind of having a title match here and there. Tamina, I guess I need to, fill a spot again. And then Chelsea Green, I've heard the name here and there, but I don't know her work. Do you know her?
A little bit, not a lot.
Okay, so not enough. Okay, so it seemed like in my row there were some hardcore indie fans, so they popped really hard. Like they were like high fiving and hugging for her. So they must have known her, from the indies, but I know nothing about her.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to get with somebody like Chelsea Green. It's going to be kind of very isolated groups of people that are that much into wrestling that know everything about everything, including independence. So yeah, I mean, but overall, I mean, the reaction for her was tame, and as expected, most fans don't know a lot of her work. I know very little as well. So
Right, and then she didn't
yeah,
do anything, right?
no,
She got eliminated really fast.
yeah,
So
it was yeah.
so what's the point of having her come if we don't even get to see her, do a finisher or do her a signature move to anybody? Like, it was in and out.
Agreed.
So I think
Yeah.
I think she was a wasted spot just because they didn't showcase her.
Yep. No, it was. When you have somebody come in just to get eliminated that quickly, it's especially if someone that you're trying to maybe build as something bigger. It's not good. No, I agree. But all right, Zelina Vega, Raquel Rodriguez, Michin, Lacey Evans, and Michelle McCool. Very interesting.
Michelle McCool.
She might have been one of the very few actual legacy stars that have plagued the women's Royal Rumble the last few years, kind of in an embarrassing way, just to fill 30 spots. In this case, we had Triple H actually utilize the NXT roster, instead of Vince bringing back quote unquote legacy stars. It's really an exposure of how weak the women's division is. So I'm really glad the way Triple H booked this. But Zelina Vega, Raquel Rodriguez, Michin, Lacey Evans, and Michelle McCool. What'd you think?
So Selena, I like Selena. I always have. Of course, I didn't really like her as the queen when she was the queen of the ring or whatever, the queen's crown. But very impressed with her mic work. Raquel, hometown pop for Raquel. I know she's from Texas. She got a nice hometown pop. Meacham was lackluster. Lacey Evans, same. And then Michelle McCool comes out, and yeah, I think she's the only legacy star in this Royal Rumble. Just like how Booker T was the only guy, I think she's the only legacy star. We got a couple NXT people. Do you think her plaguing the Royal Rumble, like you just said, has anything to do? Do you think Undertaker has any pull with that, getting her in? Because we had saw an article or maybe she posted it, that she was upset that WWE didn't call her for the Rumble, and that because she was so close to where it was going to be, where she lives. So we think that was an online swerve that they tried to swerve us. But then they showed her in the crowd. So I don't know. You think Undertaker has pull for that?
Yeah. So if they are only going to delegate one spot or maybe two per year for legacy star kind of cameo appearances, and I'm all for that. It's fun. It makes the Rumble fun if you don't do too much of it. And if they're going to choose just one and they realize that the wife of the Undertaker is interested, I mean, it'd be kind of silly to say that, that has no effect on their decision. If they're looking at Michelle McCool, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Molly Holly, and they're like, well, like, obviously they're going to choose, Michelle McCool given the connection with Undertaker. Do I think that's the only reason? No, but if that's to say it's not a factor, I don't think is fair. So yeah, I think it had something to do with it.
And I know they were in town specifically because Undertaker's doing a one-man show now.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing a show in Friday night here somewhere in town in San Antonio. So they were definitely, here in San Antonio. But, so glad that they only pulled out the one legacy star. And then from the NXT, I think we only had 3 people from NXT, which we had was Roxanne, and then Zoe Stark, and then comes out was Indy Hartwell at 26 after Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Indy?
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. So I'm familiar with her back when she was in the group with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Dexter Lumis. They were together in NXT. She had that big thing with Dexter. They got married and all kinds of stuff. So she's solid in the ring. She definitely needs work on her promo, but I like Indy. So if this was her highlighted spot to letting us know that eventually she's coming up to the main roster soon, she may be somebody to watch out for. And then you get Sonya. Like I said earlier, I was I'm purposely clapping for Dom and clapping for Logan. I did the same thing with Sonya. I know she's a little whiny baby right now, but people love to hate this woman. I don't know if they respect her because of all the whining, and she hasn't proven herself. And, she keeps on losing, but she's getting her way. I don't know. I'll toss it to you about about those last two with Indy and Sonya.
Yeah, again, I thought that, specifically Sonya Deville, she gets a negative reaction. I mean, she's so good on the microphone. I don't think people realize how good she is on the mic, and I don't think she's utilized to her full potential yet. She's getting there. I don't think she's in championship territory yet. Again, everything resets when it comes after WrestleMania, but looking at WrestleMania season, I don't think she's involved at all. I understand she has a championship match against Charlotte Flair again. That's going to go absolutely nowhere. So Charlotte will beat her again, and then, she might be involved in like the elimination chamber for the women if they have a chamber match, but there's just no way that she's going to win the championship before WrestleMania. But I think that these two entries were good. I mean, you have somebody that most people probably don't know, and then you have somebody that almost everyone that watches the product knows the name, Sonya Deville. And while you were cheering, I'm going to assume most of the other people were booing. And then you get Shotzi out there, and Shotzi seemingly got a pretty good reaction. She brought out her TCB tank. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's silly, but the announcers were kind of making fun of her, saying, "Hey, why don't you just drive that damn thing to the ring instead of sprinting to the ring?" I can't imagine how many people were like blown up by the time they ran to the ring. That was a hell of a distance, and they were saying, "Hey, just drive your tank to the ring," and so they were making fun of that.
Matt, leave Shotzi's tank alone. Why do you despise it?
I hate it.
I like it. Okay, I didn't like it when they had the Nerf gun the little Nerf bullet came out, but now that they put some pyro on it, okay, yeah. And then, like I mentioned it might have been a few months at this point, if she ever makes it, to a championship and they ever get that merchandise out, that tank is gonna sell. It will. I'm telling you, when they make a Shotzi figurine with the tank, it'll sell. We want the green hair. But other than that, yeah, she got a nice little pop. But from where I was sitting, I didn't get to see the tank, and I didn't watch that part back over yet on the playback, so I didn't get to see it yet. But so I guess I'm glad she came out with it. And then 29, where we got Nikki Cross, and then so that was not a wasted pick because she's not a legacy star, but I mean there wasn't really much of a pop for her, at least in the crowd. And then number 30, I know you saw the botch with the clock.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, people were very upset about that in the crowd, and I think people were just as upset that it was Nia Jax. What did you think about her coming back? What were you expecting?
I thought it was Ronda Rousey.
Okay, I think I'd rather have Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey.
Agreed. But given given the current roster, I was thinking, well, it's probably Ronda Rousey. I did not expect Nia Jax. Nia Jax is not a name I've even mentioned over the last 6 months. I actually didn't hate it. I don't like her character. I don't think she's good in the ring, but there was a pop for her, and I was trying to listen to you guys and figure out if it was positive or negative, and it generally trended. It started off like, whoa, what cool, and then I feel like it kind of like devolved into boos.
It did.
Yeah.
Because I think more of the initial pop that you heard might have been from the crowd reacting to the botch of the clock and then her music hitting. Because her music hit and then the clock was like at 8 and 7, and then they didn't do the rest of the countdown because she was already coming out. So that first initial pop was the botch of the clock and then her music, and then when she walked out, people went a little crazy. And then maybe they lost a little interest that she walked to the ring. But then when she got in the ring, it picked up, because of the spot where everybody gangs up on her. So
yeah, no, I that's probably a better analysis than watching it at home. I'm glad you gave us exactly why there was probably that initial like, whoa, people are reacting positively, and then it's like, nope, and then people started booing it and booing her generally. I don't think that Nia Jax was a key component of the women's division. I understand why they put her 30. She's returning. She hasn't been around in a while. She had nagging injuries. And from last I saw her, I think we had Shayna Baszler break her arm or something. I think that was during the pandemic era. So it's been quite some time since we've seen Nia Jax. And nobody's been asking for her to come back. No one, I don't think, asked to have her back, but we have her back. And, I don't know. I understand. why they have her. I think her look is actually an asset. While she's not as flippy floppy and athletic as the other women, her size I think can be an advantage because she's not going to ever put on a very fast match, which is fine. She is a powerhouse woman, but that also leads you to potential matchups with other powerhouse women like Piper Niven, like a Raquel Rodriguez, and they had that quick kind of standoff. I think that there's something here. I don't think she's a women's champion yet, but I don't know. I think there's value in it, but ultimately Rhea Ripley winning was the 100% right call here, and I have no issue with Rhea Ripley winning at all. Did you?
Absolutely not. Like I said, when she came out one, I felt it. I felt it. She got such a good pop. People were just chanting for mommy, dude. It's gonna get over. I know she's in a heel group. I know she's doing heel tactics and she's talking like a heel, but she may be the coolest female heel that we've ever had it in a long time. And then, towards the end there, again, with the women's match, when the Final Four happened, there was no Final Four showdown, just like in the men's match. So that kind of, threw me there. I was upset about that. And when it gets down to the final three of her, Asuka, and Liv, we just knew. I mean, I especially knew after Bayley and Becky were gone from the match. Like after that, there was no other big names that you really thought could pull it off, and Rhea was in it. And every woman that came in the match was dropping Rhea. They were hitting her with the move, and then Rhea would go off to the side, and then somebody else would come out, and then they would hit Rhea with another move. And she was bleeding for most of the match. It looked like, I think, from her nose. Did you see that?
Yes.
I'm sure you saw that. But, just mad respect and props to her for fighting through it. But, she was getting cheered regardless. And then whenever she told everybody to gang up and throw out Naya, like, people were behind it. And I'm looking over the list here of people that had got thrown out. Rhea had 6 eliminations. Which leads. I thought she was going to have more. I thought maybe she might have set a record or something, but she does have 6. I know she sets the record of being the female to start the match at 1 and win. She lasted over an hour, so that's going to be, in the history, forever. Just like how they show Rey Mysterio's 62-minute, Royal Rumble victory in, the opening package, the video package of the Rumble. They're going to put Rhea's, time and win in there for the rest of our lives. And then just real quick to get back to the men's match, Gunther had 5 eliminations and so did Cody. So, there was nobody who had, 8, 9, or 10 eliminations, but, some people had a few. But Rhea, at the end there, the finish on the apron there, I think that was the best way to get, Asuka back up, showing that she had a good showing, get her back up, maybe to a championship tier. Liv has a great showing, starting from number 2, finishing the match, final 2, getting eliminated there. The spot with the poison mist being, sprayed into Liv's face, and it was a good spot, and there was a lot of times where you thought Rhea was going to get eliminated and she didn't. So, it was a roller coaster ride, really. But when, she eliminates Liv, I mean, again, the roof, it had to shift, man. People were just cheering, mommy, and the girl's only 25 years old, dude. I mean, I don't. Yeah. She might. Yeah, she's very young. I mean, who knows how many titles she's gonna win?
You forget how young she is. That's a good point.
Yeah.
She doesn't look 25. I mean, the dark makeup doesn't help, but the way she acts, it feels like she's ahead of her years in terms of understanding psychology and all that. So that's a good thing. If you're a Rhea Ripley fan, she's got a lot of years in front of her, barring injury, that she's going to be with us. So that's a good point. And to put a bow on the Women's Rumble, I think that's the ending of the Women's Rumble was a lot of fun. The mist. To me, the Women's Royal Rumble was a little bit more up in the air at the end when you had those 3, because Asuka is a believable candidate given that she just returned. She's got a new look. They're trying to rebrand her, whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, Rhea should win, but Asuka's making a good case for it. And they had her teetering on the rope, and I'm like, oh, all right. Like they had us hook, line, and sinker for the ending of that match, and it was very well done. And I really don't have any complaints the way Rhea won. I think it was the right person. So, all right, well, we got to jump into the championship match here, which is Roman Reigns, of course, facing Kevin Owens for the Undisputed Universal Championship. And, the match, let me just quickly say, the match itself, because this is not something that is the talking point here, is really the match itself that I thought was good. And I think we all knew it was going to be good. It was just a matter of how well could they convince us during the match that Owens might actually win. And there was one or two spots, but generally it was pretty clear that Roman Reigns wasn't losing here. He hit the stunner once. There was no referee at one point, and everyone's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, and there's no refs. So that spot, happened, and you're thinking, oh well, he could have won there, but ultimately we knew it wasn't going to happen. It was all about the post-match antics. That is the discussion here, and I actually, not to toot my horn, but I called it nearly verbatim of what was going to happen after. He was going to beat down Kevin Owens after he beat him and then tell Sami that he wants to do the same thing. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't know what would transpire after that, who would attack who, but ultimately Sami hits Roman Reigns in the back. And let me just ask about that moment, because people online are talking about it. I went back and listened to it several times. The pop when Sami hit Roman was probably the biggest pop of the night. Would you agree, being there?
Yes. And then the leading up to the chair shot, when Roman first gave Sami the chair and he was just holding it up, like he was about to hit him. The people were anticipating, like they were cheering for it, and then some people were like, no, don't do it. So yeah, and then when it actually happened, like, oh my God, yes, definitely the loudest pop of the night. But when it happened, I don't know if you, I'm sure you felt it, but I felt the shift in the landscape of WWE with that one chair shot. And just, before that, when they were just beating up Owens, I started to feel bad for the guy. They did a real number on him. Even before the handcuffs, they did a number on him. They put the handcuffs on, and yes, the stairs before the match even ended. When he threw him on the stairs twice.
Oh yeah.
I hope Kevin's okay. I hope he didn't hurt his neck or something. I mean, I'm sure this will take him off TV for a while, but whenever that happened, yeah, you knew there was no chance that Kevin was gonna win. I mean, we already knew it, but just when that happened, like, you knew that this was gonna be bad. And then, right when that chair shot happened, like I said, I felt the shift in my heart, in my mind, in the WWE universe. I felt it. I felt it in the crowd. And then when you see the Usos getting mad and Jay's yelling at him, and you can feel his anger and disappointment and the betrayal, and but at the same time, it's a roller coaster of emotions, because you're feeling bad for Kevin, you feel bad for Sami, you're excited for Sami because he's finally gonna turn. You see Roman get hit with the belt, the Usos get mad, Paul Heyman's facials, and you don't know what to feel. You're feeling everything. And Sami drops the chair, and then you're like, oh man, here it comes.
I felt more for Jay.
You're like, here it comes. And then the super kick happens, and then he falls. And then you feel Jay's, the struggle that Jay's having, not to help, and there's Jimmy beating down Sami, and then you just feel the struggle. He backs into the corner. Solo gets in, and Roman gets up, and I mean, when he ripped off Sami's shirt, I mean, I was wearing my Honorary Uce shirt, and I'm like, that's it. He's not the Honorary Uce anymore. I was like, let me just hang the shirt up on the wall. But yeah, we felt it coming, but you felt the sympathy for Sami. You can feel like the tide shifting. Like, yeah, he's an ultra babyface now, like ultra babyface. And whenever KO does come back, I'm assuming that they are going to challenge the Usos eventually, but we got to see how that dynamic plays out between the Usos because of what happened with Jay not helping out and leaving the ring. How loud was the Jay chants when he was walking back to stage? Did they translate on TV pretty well?
Yeah, it came through very clearly, and that is the other part I don't think that we thought of would happen. And we knew that somebody was going to turn on somebody. Ultimately, Sammy was going to come out on top, or rather get cheered with all of this, and that's exactly what happened. But the Jay part of this is something that I don't think a lot of people thought about, where he was conflicted. Jimmy immediately super kicked him. Of course, Solo Sikoa gave him the Samoan spike, but Jay, like you said, is conflicted and doing a great job from a facial standpoint of going through the emotions and the struggle and what do I do? Do I attack him? Do I not? And he just excused himself and then just left the ring. And Roman was staring him down like angrily, like, what are you doing? You know, and then we get, of course, Roman Reigns standing tall at the end of this. But, you know, both of them are beaten down. Where do they go from here? I mean, it's got to lead to a championship match between Sammy and Roman. But the question is, does that happen at WrestleMania, or is that still reserved for Cody? If it's reserved for Cody, given he won the Rumble, well, then where does Sami Zayn fall at WrestleMania? It's got to be against Roman unless they split the belts. I mean, there's still a lot of ways they could go, but I still think that it's going to be at Elimination Chamber, given it's in Montreal. And imagine that hometown crowd with Sami Zayn challenging Roman Reigns at the Chamber in the Bell Center in Montreal, and then it's going to be Kevin and Sammy versus the Usos at WrestleMania, eventually probably taking down the Usos for the tag belts with Cody versus Roman at Mania. That's still my prediction. It doesn't seem like any big stars are coming out of the woodwork, at least at this time, to challenge Roman Reigns for that Universal Championship. So, given that, I don't know, what are your thoughts moving forward on where this goes?
Well, where to start? I guess it really depends on what we get at the Elimination Chamber. Are we getting? I mean, of course, we're getting the match, but what does the winner get of the match? I'm sure Roman's not defending in the Chamber. Is Sammy in the match? Is he not in the match? Is Roman defending the title at Elimination Chamber in a singles match? Maybe Sammy interferes in the match. I don't know, because what does the winner of the Chamber get? We know the winner of the Rumble gets the title shot, but if there's only one title and they're not splitting it, then that spot is reserved for Cody. So the only other thing, between now and then over the next months is going to be the storyline of Sammy's rise, basically. But does he get so ultra popular that they have to change the main event, like with the Daniel Bryan thing at WrestleMania 30? Is Cody really, based on the reaction of the Royal Rumble win, and then the reaction of Sammy now being turned on by the bloodline, Sammy's stardom might overshadow that Royal Rumble win. And that's what I'm thinking might be the case. So do we have a situation where maybe Cody tries to cash in his win before Mania, like Austin did that 1 year, and, doesn't lose? Or because people are going to expect Cody to win at WrestleMania, but we are expecting Roman to keep it for the 1,000 days. I know you've been mentioning it time and again. We've done the math. It's all the way until May. I know we have a lot of answers now after the Rumble with the split or the initial split of the bloodline. We'll see what happens with Jay. We know Sammy's out. I don't think we have enough answers yet to really say. The easy answer is Cody versus Roman. Again, I'm a big fan of second generation stars. So Cody being the second generation star, soft spot for him. And the right thing in my mind for Roman to lose is Royal Blood beats Royal Blood. And that's Cody beating Roman. But again, is the bigger story here Sammy now. How do you become such a babyface and such a dominant heel group, and then you turn this group around over the last 6 months and make this title reign of Roman's not so aggravating because it made the storyline good. Everything that was going on, the initial heat between him and Jay, the progression of their relationship, and then him accepting Sammy, and then now you have, his confliction, then you have the heartbreak of Sammy being kicked out the group and beaten down. But that was a good beat down, the way he ripped off his shirt and beat him and then broke off the tribal chief necklace over him. I think that was a really nice touch. I don't know. I think maybe Sammy, like I said, I think his stardom might overshadow that Royal Rumble win. Of course, we're going to get Cody's speech tomorrow on Raw, about winning the Rumble, wanting to go for the title. But again, we'll see if his initial crowd reaction is sustainable all the way into Mania, because we have a few months still. So
Yeah,
the big payoff is whatever happens at Elimination Chamber.
Exactly. And if I was WWE, I would be very careful about putting Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes in the same program at all. I mean, because that will turn, if they're not trying to turn, but that I think the fans, if they were going to choose, would choose Sami Zayn over Cody Rhodes right now. Sami Zayn's the hotter one. He's the more organically connected one with the fans. He's been around longer with the fans. And he's he's just way hotter. They got the biggest storyline that they've had in I don't know how many years, and they've been waiting for this turn and waiting for this moment. To me, if you're going to keep Cody Rhodes in a babyface position, you got to keep him away from Sami Zayn, because then the fans will be forced to choose, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to turn on Cody instantly in favor of Sami Zayn. So I think that right now what they're going to do is just finish it up at Chamber, and then somehow just keep the belt on Roman, not split it, and have Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. And then I still don't think he'll drop it there, but that's the only way you can go through with this and would not have the fans resent Cody Rhodes for taking the spot that really should be reserved for Sami Zayn at WrestleMania in the main event. Because, while Cody is he's a great performer, all that. Right now, he's been absent for 7+ months, and Sami Zayn's been here, and he's been in a position that's been a very, very enviable position of growing slowly with the fans. Fans start realizing he's really good on the mic. They start to connect with him. They've seen him be a wrestler in WWE for I don't know how many, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. He's had great match after great match. It's just a dangerous position, and I would not be WWE, want to be them if they're trying to somehow get them in a fatal or a triple threat or something like that. I really wouldn't do that. It's danger zone if they try to position the fans in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Have you heard any rumors about what might happen at Chamber yet? Because I'm not really big on going through the rumor mill, and I see news articles here and there, but I purposely keep myself out of the online groups where there are spoilers and stuff, because even though wrestling can be predictable, I still like to be surprised. Yeah. So, and I know it's hard in this day and age, because anytime you scroll through your phone, something's popping up, or you're hearing, or somebody's telling you something. Especially in your case, I'm sure people are messaging you all the time about, did you hear this? Did you hear that? I purposely like to keep myself out of it. So I get most of my news updates from you and the other co-hosts when I listen to all the reviews and, whatever the patrons say in the mailbag, whatever people bring up. That's where I get my news, and then I'll research it. But I don't like to hear it, beforehand.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the age that you can access anything at any point, it kind of ruins the fun of pro wrestling, doesn't it? I don't want to know. And I hear things and I talk about them because I have to, but I don't go purposely digging out the spoilers. I really don't. I don't want spoilers. I think they're a detriment to the business. I know people use it to get clicks and all that on their websites. It's not for me, but I will report on things like if Fightful or Bleacher Report comes out with something, I'll report on it. I'll talk about it, but I'm not going to go into the stuff that's maybe comes out that leaks out of, so-and-so's going to win the belt at WrestleMania. I don't like to get into that. I don't like spoilers. But all right, well, let's put a ball on this whole thing. What are your final thoughts, final conclusion on the event and being there live, and of course anything that you want to touch on that we didn't?
Sure. Well, actually, I know usually whenever I know we were both excited to get to start of the show, and what a lot to talk about. But usually, when you bring on somebody, you usually ask them how they got into wrestling. We skipped that part.
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead.
So my wrestling career, or my wrestling days, start as a very young child, about 4 or 5 years old. I remember going to the Compact Center a lot, for house shows here in Houston. My earliest memory is my tia took me and my cousin, my aunt, and only thing I remember from that show is her running back to our seats, screaming that Ultimate Warrior had touched her hand, because he would run down and slap hands on his way to the ring. So that's my earliest memory of wrestling. But I remember going, all those early years, basically from 5 to 10 years old, Compact Center and shows. by the time I was in sixth grade, because you're only 2 years older than me, so just get that in perspective. By the time I was in sixth grade, wrestling it was getting hot. Attitude Era was starting. I gave away all my Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles to the little brother, and it was all wrestling figures from there. I had the wrestling subscription. I had posters all up and down the wall. My whole room was full of it. I've been to a handful of SmackDowns over the years. I was at WrestleMania 17 in the Astrodome. I was at WrestleMania 25 in Reliance Stadium. But what really got my passion started is Bret Hart and HBK were my dudes growing up. Those are my number one and two. I always liked the big guys like Taker, and Kane and stuff, but technical wrestlers, high flyers were my kind of guys because my body, my height and body type is like them. So those are my guys. And I remember Shawn, winning the Rumble to face Bret at WrestleMania 12. And that was the first pay-per-view that I asked my dad to get for me because I wanted to watch that match. And the announcement of the Iron Man match was a big thing. And even as a young kid, I understood the magnitude of what it represented. And then I remember sitting down watching that match for the full hour, and I was just in awe. You had that epic entrance of Shawn. It was an epic match. They went into overtime, and that sweet chin music that Shawn delivered to Bret to end the match. You see the spit fly off of Bret's mouth, and the way that he just draped over his body and hooked the leg. Like, I was mesmerized. I've watched it back so many times. I've had that image in my head over the years. You hear JR screaming, the boyhood dream has come true. And then you have Howard Finkel announcing the HBK as the winner, like all of it together. I don't remember anything else from that WrestleMania. I remember that match forever. And that's what, if I wasn't already hooked before, that's what hooked me right there. I remember watching Raw from time to time, over the years, those early years. There was an early Saturday morning show that used to come on. Maybe it was Superstars. So it was for an hour every Saturday. I remember catching that from time to time. But that WrestleMania 12 match was what did it for me. And I was hooked. And from there on out, I was all wrestling. It was cool to watch wrestling. Back in middle school, you had some of everybody, like, of course, Austin and Rock. That's what everybody remembers. That's what everybody still asks about. And, it was cool to like it then. We used to wrestle in the backyards and our trampolines and have our wrestling matches. I had all the title belts, and, it was a great time growing up. And then by the time you get into high school, it's not cool to like wrestling anymore. So in high school, I was a closeted wrestling fan. I had to, not hide it, but my friends wouldn't come over to watch it anymore. So I was watching it on my own, but I didn't care. I'm a fan for life. So, early days, I fell in love with the Intercontinental title, that white strap that Shawn had. I used to think that was the top belt because it said Intercontinental in front of championship instead of just WWF championship. So because the name was longer and sounded more prestigious, I thought it was the top belt. But I was a young kid at the time. I didn't know better. And then in high school, I watched all through Attitude Era, all through PG Era. And then John Cena happens. And I respect the hell out of the dude, but I hate John Cena. I disliked him whenever he beat Triple H at WrestleMania, and then I started hating him when he beat HBK at WrestleMania, and then the PG Era happened. And of course, I still watch, but I would tune out from time to time, but I would still keep up with Bleacher Report back then. And then as during the 2015s, when it started to pick up again, I started to get heavily back into it. But lifelong fan, 30 years plus. My first Rumble now. So, what's left to do is try to go to a SummerSlam or try to go to a Survivor Series. That way I can at least say that I've been to all the big four, which is a lifetime goal for me. So if I can make it to a Survivor Series and a SummerSlam sometime in our lifetime, and I can say I've been to all big four events, then I would say that I accomplished something in the wrestling world myself. And then ever since finding your podcast back beginning of the pandemic, that's really changed a lot for me. Just because I stopped listening to the radio as much, and I didn't have any friends that like to talk wrestling. I mean, we're all grown now, and people don't believe in it as much, or they don't care for it as much. So I don't have anybody to talk to about it. So when I found y'all's podcast, I really took to y'all's. I backlogged, listened to all your nostalgic shows and on all the reviews and stuff. And then once I got caught up, and then you started the mailbag, and that was a big deal. I know for me and for a lot of other people, because you have a lot of international listeners. So the mailbag was a great addition to the podcast. And that's what really made me, I believe in you. I believe in the podcast. I believe in everybody that takes the time, dedication to make the time to put into the podcast. That's why I wanted to make the sign for you and to kind of advertise for you, because I want to help this podcast grow. So that's pretty much my story there. So faithful listener, faithful contributor. So just to you and all the other hosts, keep up the good work. I was a little disappointed. I was not able to meet up with Michael and John. Michael Ritter did not have good service at the Rumble. So when I got there and I was messaging him, he didn't get my messages until after. So I did not get to meet the guys, which was a little disappointing. And I'm sure they're going to have a lot to say on their SmackDown review. But other than that, that's my story, man.
Very cool. I mean, to hear how people get into wrestling is always interesting to me, how their evolution of a fan continues, and especially in school when it's not cool to be a wrestling fan. I'm with you. We all experience that. If you're a wrestling fan in the early 2000s, especially, and you're in high school, it's like, yeah, I'm with you on that. But if you find your group of friends that like wrestling, then you guys are bonded forever. It's just kind of the way it worked. But yeah, and then of course the moments you went to, 17, 25, WrestleMania. I mean, like the Undertaker HBK match at 25, which is just one of the greatest of all time, and WrestleMania 17, which is generally regarded as one of the best pay-per-views of all time. I mean, those are certainly some things that you could put in your resume that are pretty awesome to be at. And then, as you look to the present, and that you have the big four you want to get to, I think that's not something most fans can say that they have done. Most fans can't say they've been to a WrestleMania, much less the big four. So I hope that you eventually get your goals achieved, and maybe get to a wrestling event that has or doesn't say that your sign is too big to bring in, right? Like that's something it must be a new regulation, or if you're on the camera side, it can't be this big or that big. I don't know. Who knows? But I really appreciate you at least making even the effort to make that. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate listening. And yeah,
for that now. I have a solution for the sign. I'm just gonna get a T-shirt made. They can't take off my T-shirt.
That's true. Yeah, they can't tell you your T-shirt's too big. Sorry, sir, you're gonna have to remove your T-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a lot of eyeballs that were put on the sign as I was walking in, going through security, waiting to get into the stadium. But once we got up to the doors to show our tickets, they're like, that sign's too big. And it must have just been our side of the stadium, because I've seen other poster board signs, but mine was like 4 feet tall, dude. So I get it. And even if I was going to cut off the borders, they still said it was going to be too big. They wanted me to chop off part of your legs where it says the WWE logo. Yeah. WWE pocket. Like, if you cut it at the legs, you can get in. I'm like, well, that defies the point of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, so a good handful of people got to see it as we're walking through. So I'm hoping, some people get in, we get some listeners say, hey, I saw the sign at the Rumble. That would be great.
No, I if anybody does that, I would, I think that would be awesome. I would be like, how did you first listen to it? Well, actually, I saw a sign at the Royal Rumble. That would be so cool to hear somebody say that they actually started listening because they saw the sign at the Rumble. Yes. That'd be really cool. And I will let you know if anybody does. But Rocky, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad you were able to give us the in-person perspective and have a lot of fun, it sounds like, at the show. And certainly, anytime that you want to come on and chit chat wrestling, you let me know.
Thanks for listening to the WWE podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.